that you have to get your hands dirty. You can't do a startup with a corporate mindset.
When people tell me that I can't do something, I will do whatever it takes to prove them wrong.
लाइफ में ना दो तरह से कॉम्पनसेट होते हो आप. वन इज योर अर्निंग एंड वन इज योर लर्निंग.
Fundamental each has always been खुद करो.
I'm your host, Akshay Datt, and you're listening to Spotlight, a podcast in which I speak to disruptive startup founders.
I'm Dhaval. I'm the founder of Danamojo, and very glad to be on the show with you today.
Philanthropy or charitable giving has always been a part of our DNA. Think of kings giving gold coins to temples, or think of the Sikh community offering free langar meals to just about anybody. But like everything else, philanthropy is also changing. The next generation of philanthropists are no longer happy stuffing cash in a box. They want to give digitally. They want to be digitally engaged. And this is where a startup like Danamojo comes in. Danamojo is building the Shopify of philanthropy, helping NGOs to digitize the process of collecting donations and engaging with donors. Dhaval, the founder of Danamojo, quit a well-paying consulting job to enter the non-profit world. And he shares his journey of creating impact at scale by giving digital tools to non-profit organizations.
I had actually volunteered with Give India for a couple of years while I was at AT Carney. And that volunteering was never from the perspective that I should join it later on. That volunteering was very from the perspective of doing something extra co-curricular, right? You always have some interest, somebody has painting, somebody has a thing. For me, this was an outlet for my technology passion in reality. So I was handling their technology and operations while I was volunteering with them. I was handling their online giving while I was volunteering. By the end of 2 years, I was handling half their team, just volunteering with them. So to me, it was more an outlet for my technology passion.
This was like a product manager kind of a role.
Yeah, that was not a term that was existed back then. I would probably say that this was a role that was more a chief of operations, because everything operations, I was handling. Everything online giving, I was handling. So anything related to tech or online, I was handling all of that in a volunteer capacity, spending about 15-20 hours a week doing that.
So you were looking at operations from the angle of how can we automate it to make it smoother?
Absolutely, yeah. So a lot of automation stuff that we had done back then as well. And that's something that interested me, and I was doing that. You're absolutely right. I mean, from a compensation perspective, I took a 80% hit when I joined Give India.
What made you, did they tell you, please join us? Or what made that happen?
Oh yeah, they've been pursuing me for 2 years out of the 2.5 years that I was volunteering with them. So they were asking me to join, continuously, and I hadn't found a good enough reason to join. But I think the biggest reason why I joined was I felt that there were people with a lot more passion, a lot more interest, role models that I could see for myself, things which I had, that I really aspired to in my career, in my journey. I want to be in a place where I aspire to be like somebody else who's there, to grow and learn from such people. And that was something I found was present at Give India. And from a compensation perspective, I was single back then, staying in parents' home in Bombay. You don't really have too many expenses, and I'm not an extravagant person, simple lifestyle. You really don't have too many expenses in such a case. And plus, when you're in a management consulting job, you actually don't spend anything. Your clients, and your clients take care of all your spends, right? Everywhere you have to go and visit, and whatever you do, everything the client, your company is funding. So you really don't have any. So I had some reserves. I said, even if I don't get paid for 2 years, I don't mind, but I want to do something I love. I don't want to do something just because I have to earn money. What I discovered, and this is something I'd like to tell the audience and everyone, is that we all think that there's this huge difference you have to make, you have to take, or huge cut you have to take. And yes, you have to take that cut in the beginning. But I can assure you that within 2 years, you will reach a space wherein you will be very comfortable, if not at the original level, right? Even if you get, 60%, 70% of what you get in a management consulting job, you're actually very comfortable. Much of what you make is really going towards savings. Especially if you have your own house, you're staying in your parents' house, then it's a no-brainer. I know if you have to rent a house and all, it's a much bigger thing. But yeah, I mean, some of these things just combine and start making sense for people. So I think that makes a big difference because, and this reason is because in the beginning, the non-profit doesn't know how good how good you are, how capable you are, and it will take them a bit of time to figure that out. But once they do and they see that value in you, which will be very visible in 3 to 6 months, then you can start getting paid a lot better. So they don't have the appetite to take risk on you. But once you've proven yourself, you've shown yourself, I don't think that salary today, especially, is a challenge in the social space. Yes, it will never match up to the for-profit space, but it will be something which will be hugely comfortable and completely okay to kind of, not just survive on, but thrive on.
Did you join as the CEO? Because I can see that CEO is the title you have on LinkedIn. So you joined them as the CEO?
No, I joined as this head of technology operations, online giving itself, which I did for about a couple of years. And post that, I became the CEO.
So you took over from the founder, like till then it was founder run.
Right. So it was founder run till I joined, and then the founder had already hired a CEO. So when that person retired after 2 years, is when I took on the position of the CEO.
Tell me about that whole stint. I think you spent 6-7 years there, right?
Yeah, I spent more than 6 years out there. That's right. So I think it was a fantastic stint. I think one of the things I keep telling people is there is no, we always have this guilt conscious of what we are selling. Whichever job we are in, we have to sell something or the other, right? We are always selling. And people always have this thing that am I selling the right thing? Am I selling too much of it? Selling soap, selling sweetened water, selling chips, and all the guilt conscious that goes with it. And here I was selling giving. And how can you feel bad about selling giving, right? Like I never felt bad about it for one day in my life, telling people that you should give more to people who are unprivileged. And that was the beauty of it. That's what I really loved about it. Was that we were selling something which was to make people's lives better, while not significantly making any kind of negative impact on anybody else's life. In fact, you are further improving the quality of their life. Obviously, a lot of it intangibly, but definitely improving the quality of their life through that process. I don't know anyone who has said, I gave so much that I'm feeling bad about it. I think people will only say that I gave so little that I feel bad, I wish I could have given more. And I think that has been the most amazing part of the journey. I think at the stage where I got into the organization was in a lot of flux in terms of trying out various things and then abandoning them. I think we took 3 specific initiatives and said, hey, we need to stick to some of these things and work towards growing them. Because almost anything can work and almost everything will not work if you don't try hard enough.
So Give India is essentially like a aggregator, right? It aggregates demand and supply in a single platform. Like your supply being donors who want to give and demand being noble causes which are seeking money.
We thought of it completely the other way around. So it's a philanthropy marketplace where you have supply in the form of causes that need attention, and demand is coming from the donors who want to give to this, whose demand is being met through these causes. So, and this is an important differentiation because for us, the customer was actually the donor. The customer was never the NGO. So our focus was on always saying, how do we meet the needs of the customer? How do we ensure that the customer is well met? Because only the customer, in this case the donor, is satisfied when we donate more, right? And in that sense, what do we have to do on the supply side, on the NGO side, to keep making sure that the donor donates more? How do we keep satisfying the donor? So, and it was in a place where it was, so it was very much like the Amazon of today.
So these NGOs could sign up and create a profile and then list a cause, and there would be some sort of KYC norms that they would have to undergo.
Yeah, so we used to undertake a pretty rigorous due diligence of these NGOs, and it was so rigorous that a lot of organizations use Give India as a proxy. So they would say that, okay, if you are Give India registered, then we'll consider you for funding. Again, back then in that day, there was no formal CSR funding, but the funding by corporates that would happen, a lot of them would say, even institutionally. So we were very well regarded amongst that. We have a very, very strict process, almost a backbreaking, painful process. Most NGOs used to hate us for it, abuse us for it, but also love us for it at the same time, because they understood the value that it brought to them, not just in terms of funding from us, from other sources, but also in terms of just getting their own house in order, ensuring their own documentation, ensuring their own records were in place. Give India played a big role in making a lot of that happen. So if you speak even today to some of those organizations, they would say that that's the biggest value add that this process got for them.
So, like, you would ask them for their books of accounts, like audited books of accounts and stuff like that, as a way to make sure that it's a genuine NGO.
No, we did a lot of due diligence. So not just that. So we followed what I would call is the equivalence of a SEBI norm for a listed company for NGOs. I mean, obviously watered down to a significant extent, but the idea was you want to do a governance diligence of these organizations from the extent of saying, what is your senior management paid, to how much do you spend on travel, to what are your disclosure norms, what are your HR norms. A lot of that we would go through the book of accounts, but the book of accounts also an audited statement, so we don't necessarily question that part of it, but we look at it to mention that do we even have one. I think you have to start from the stage of where an organization is, right? That might not be a problem for many companies, or actually it is. If you look at private unlisted companies, that's probably what you should ask for to begin with. And the same thing was true with NGOs. So you want to make sure that they're filing returns, they have income tax statements, their registrations are in order. All of these things are things that you want to ensure. But far beyond that, we used to visit every single organization as well at the stage of verification. We used to sit with their team, we used to understand their programs. We were not okay with just the financial statement that you gave us. We would ask you to open your tally and actually look at the data inside tally sitting out there with the accountant. So if you said that an education of a child costs 500 rupees a month, we wanted to see in your tally that you were actually spending 500 rupees a month on that education of a child. We wanted to see that cataract surgery that you claimed was 3,500 is actually costing 3,500 in your book of accounts. So we would get into the book of accounts in such a way. We would go and visit beneficiaries. So very randomly, we would go and pick beneficiaries, go into villages. I've done that myself quite a lot, and ask that person themselves that have you got this benefit? Did your child get an education? Did your child get a school bag? Did he get a notebooks? And we would actually go around visiting beneficiaries very, very randomly without the knowledge of the NGO and verify this information.
Got it. Okay. And how would the organization meet its expenses? Like there would be a commission charged or what? Like
so, so Give India used to charge donors an additional amount of 10% for providing all of these services, right? This due diligence, and every donor on their donation got a feedback report as well. So it was fairly pioneering at that stage because there was no organization which was doing something that. I mean, there was no organization even enabling online payments. Forget doing any of this kind of stuff. So there was a lot of value add that we used to provide at back then on many of these things.
And I'm assuming you would have been able to convert one-time donors into repeat donors, like in terms of getting them to commit to a monthly amount instead of just a random one-time amount.
So I think that monthly donations was a separate program that we had as part of payroll giving. We used to run a payroll giving with companies, about 125 or 150 companies across India. Some of the largest companies like ICICI Bank, HDFC, Genpact, all of these, wherein their employees used to give a particular amount from their payroll month on month. And that was our largest program, both from an amount of money as well as a number of donors perspective.
So you were telling me you decided to focus on 3 areas?
Yeah, so these 3 areas, one was payroll giving, like I mentioned, which initially was our largest area. The second area, which was kind of fledgling, just starting off, was online giving. And the third area that we looked at, which we started back then, was HNI giving.
I thought it was online giving from day one. It wasn't, is it? Like
no, it was there, but it was in a fledgling state in terms of compared to other vertical, like compared to payroll giving. It was in a very small state. One of the things that Give India had pioneered and had run for a while was marathons, doing charity in marathons right from 2003 when the Bombay Marathon first started up to 2008. But then it stopped doing marathons. So that was the largest chunk of, from a vertical perspective. And once it stopped doing marathons, then payroll giving became the largest. But online was a very, very fledgling, small source back then. And we said, these are the 3 areas that we try to work on, focus on. And by the time I left. Each of them was contributing about one third.
What made you leave Give India and become an entrepreneur? Like, tell me about that journey.
So I think when you spend some time in an organization, and you obviously realize that there are other things that can help this journey of giving. But an organization is not your organization, so it is an organization which has its way of doing things, philosophy, ideas, and wants to do things in a certain way. And sometimes you need a fresh start to think things from first principle, from the ground up, and say, hey, how do you hasten this journey of giving? How do you make it a lot more, make it possible for people to give? One of the things that I saw happen significantly is while we had a lot of first time donors, people who would give for the first time. But after they've given, they would now want to go and give directly to the NGO because they had discovered the non-profit on our platform. So we used to bear the cost of acquisition and not have the benefits of retention. Right now, you know that acquisition is more expensive, retention is more less expensive, more valuable, higher value, all of that nice stuff. But we didn't get the benefit of that. So I thought that this is something we need to look at as one element. How do you make sure that a retained donor also stays on your own platform? The second thing that I saw was that unless giving is a very push-oriented business, you have to ask for donations to get donations, right? And you can only ask for and once you ask for donation, you get a donation. You need to engage with the donor. You engage with the donor, and then you are able to retain a donor. As an intermediary organization, Give India would not have as much ability to engage with the donor because it was not running the program themselves. It was not doing the activity themselves. So the one who will have the most ability to engage the donor is the NGO on the ground, is the eventual NGO, right? So we said we need to create a more direct channel between the donor as well as the NGO and allow them to converse with each other, allow them to engage with each other. And that is what our goal was, has become at Danamojo, is to allow this direct conversation to happen, engagement to build up, and for us to play that role of providing the tools, the systems, the training, if we might, towards making that happen.
So you essentially felt that instead of building a e-commerce company, let's build a Shopify.
That's how I actually describe it. So we are like a Shopify plus a Razorpay kind of thing. The difference is that we found in this universe of our customers is that 80% of them had websites. So you were not trying to build a website because the website existed. So now you have to build something within that website only. Unlike Shopify where you build the entire website, here you're building within that website. So what we built with Danamojo is a widget which does your end-to-end e-commerce on that site. Just like if you go to Amazon, you first have to select a product. You will then add the product to your cart. You will then enter all your information, and then you will make a payment, get your product, get the invoice and obviously the product and service. Now, all of this part you have to build, right? The payment gateway you will integrate with. You don't have to build a payment gateway, but the rest of it, every merchant has to build on their side, and that's quite a task. That's not a straightforward enough thing for an NGO. Most people who integrate a payment gateway are people who are anyway technology companies. The business is online, they build technology. But NGOs are not technology companies, their business is not online. How can we expect them to be very good? First of all, build this and then be very good at it. Because the donor who is going to give on any NGO's website is the same donor who's purchasing tickets on Make My Trip or Book My Show or buying stuff on Flipkart and Amazon. And they want that level of user experience, that level of smooth checkout flow. So that's what we went out to build. So we want to build this end-to-end system, not just create a small payment gateway. There's no value in that really. There are so many of them around. We want to build this end-to-end system and try and get NGOs to adopt it, make life simple for them, for them to be able to manage a system without having any technology experience, expertise. And what we always aim for is that our system is very good if the NGO doesn't have to actually use it. It's self-working. It's automated completely.
What made you want to do this as an entrepreneur and, take that risk and put in money? And because, you're building a tech product, so obviously it needs investment in building that. And, so what made you want to take that path?
A partial reason for joining Give India was also to be to learn about entrepreneurship, to be an entrepreneur in the form of an entrepreneur at least. Because I thought, someday, somewhere, I do want to start my own organization. Like I said, I've always been interested in this idea of getting, compensated for your outcomes, not your effort. So that was always there at the back of my mind. But as I was a CEO of Give India, I felt, यार ये तो मेरे बस की बात नहीं है. Building an organization is too much. 0 to 1 is too damn difficult. I'm anyway finding 1 to 10 so difficult that 0 to 1 तो पता नहीं कैसे होने वाला है. So I actually had given up at that stage. I said, नहीं बॉस नहीं करना है हमको. मेरे को ये मैं I will go back to a job. I will keep doing that. However, when this idea struck me that I think I can change how NGOs collect donations online, and this is a chance at transforming an entire industry, transforming how an entire sector operates. It just felt too fantastic. It just felt very amazing, and I said, hey, I don't want to now give this up when I have this idea. So I'm not an ideas man. Like, I don't get too many ideas easily. Like I said, I'm not an entrepreneur. I'm more accidental. यार एक तो आइडिया आया है, पहले तो कभी आता नहीं था. एक आइडिया आया है. Now let me try and see how I can, make this happen. And I will regret all my life if I don't give this a shot. Right? And that's not something I like or I want to do. I definitely want to give this a shot. And very interesting. I didn't actually think of it initially to begin with. कि चलो company बनाते हैं. That was always there. Not that wasn't there. But that's not like the way it is today, right? The default is okay. Let's start my own company.
Start company, get angel investing.
Correct. So that was not the case back then, about 7 years ago. And so I actually went to many payment gateway companies first, and I said, hey, why don't you think about this as a specific vertical in your thing? Because I think it has a lot of potential. Went and met went and met a few of them. They didn't bite it. They couldn't, they didn't think it was very great type of thing. So nobody wants AU, CC Avenue, all of those which are there available back there. So किसी को मजा नहीं आ रहा था. And I realized that this is all very small bucket for them. And what I also realized, not just from their side, but also from the NGO side, and which is one of the reasons I did want to do this, is that while it was very easy for a for-profit company to get a payment gateway, it was very difficult for a non-profit. So if you were a for-profit, you could literally log in online, 2 minutes you'll get a payment gateway. But non-profit, you struggle unless you are a large one. Very, very difficult to get one. There's no logic, no reason, just general. Not big value, more risk. The government, the banks don't want to touch you because you are not very worthwhile. So there's just too much discrimination. And for me, this was also a way of thinking, why should there be discrimination in our society? Here is an entity which the government has allowed to accept donations, and just like any other for-profit, and it should be allowed to function, run, and get all the services that are required. So there's another reason that I said, hey, that's what we want. That's why we should do this, and but not just build only the payment gateway, build a lot more around it. And that's how we kind of went down this journey. So I went to some of these guys. They said no. Then I went to an existing crowdfunding platform. I went more in terms of saying, hey, these are my thoughts. What do you say? So friends in the sector. Do you think this makes sense? Type of thing. And so they were like, why don't you come and join us types and do it. And I was also quite, that's good because I don't have to set all this up. Mera ye anyway bas ki baat nahi hai. I'm not this entrepreneur type of guy, and I get flustered. And that's great because I'll get a ready-made platform from which to work, and a lot of I can get down straight to work. I don't have to figure out a lot of other stupid things that one has to do as you start a company. So we had a fair amount of dialogues, discussions, and then they went blank, completely silent. I didn't hear from them. At the end of 1 month, I realized I just wasted 1 month of my time. And then and I spoke with some other people, a VC person actually, and I told him, this has happened, and I wanted to do this, but I don't want to get into this Danamojo of figuring out office space and accountants and audit practices and policies, and all of this has come inbuilt. And he made a very, very important point. He said, but that's what you have to do. That is, if you cannot even do that, then how can you run anything? So this is part and parcel of the cycle, and you are far better off just starting off on your own than trying any more and wasting any more time among such people. And that made a lot of sense to me. It really made sense to me to say, hey, you have to do all this. That's what entrepreneurship is about. So we went in, started off. I was lucky enough at that stage that I had another person with whom I worked with at Give India, who initially joined me on this journey as a co-founder. Uh, but yeah, I mean, yeah, so that actually also gave me the confidence कि चलो कोई तो है साथ में ये करने के लिए type of thing. I like that, and so I was there.
So started with your own savings, like to build because you needed to build a technology product first, right?
Correct. Yeah. So everything, right? Technology, product, team, a lot of investment upfront before you even start generating some revenue. So yes, so I started with my saving. I took out whatever I thought I will survive with the rest if I don't make this in the next 2 years. And my wife was extremely supportive. She also pooled in half the money as well and gave me a lot of confidence. And that said, chalo ye dal dete. And we were actually willing. We were at that stage. We had said we'll commit X, and we were okay to even commit up to 2X if things worked out and if things were going well. And so we had that thought in mind कि यार इतना तो हम डाल ही सकते हैं. फिर इसमें नहीं होगा तो यार I am अहमदाबाद से है, जॉब तो मिल ही जाएगा बाद में. So that was the thought process as we started out.
You like hired a tech team, or did you go to a vendor to get this developed? And like, tell me about the product launch. Like, what product did you build and go to market with?
We didn't hire a tech team initially. In fact, even till date, we don't have an internal tech team. It's just far more cheaper to have a tech team outsourced, especially if you don't have a tech co-founder. I think if you need a tech co-founder to have a tech team in-house. A lot of advantages even in-house, but at least if you don't have, then it's a lot more cheaper when it's outside. So we started with that. We built what we call as an integrated payment solutions platform. At a very simplistic level, as you correctly said, it's a Shopify plus a Razorpay functionality for NGOs. So it provides this entire end-to-end system that I just explained about Amazon, giving the Amazon example, right from the point of a donor selecting what causes he wants to donate for, ensuring legal compliance, making sure that all the information that is required legally is collected, providing the payment options, and generating the ATG receipt and sending that off to him as well. And then from an NGO perspective, we also provide a lot of engagement features. So they can send newsletters to these donors. We run engagement campaigns.
So like you built a newsletter tool, like a MailChimp kind of a tool.
Yes, like a MailChimp type of thing. It's essentially today, we are evolving it towards a CRM for NGOs, where also the NGOs, they should use it to the extent they want to use it. Because they are aware that they don't have the bandwidth, and at times, and the people who don't have the bandwidth don't have the expertise. The people who have the expertise, don't have the bandwidth. So we want to make a tool where if they want to do something more, they can, but if they don't want to do it, will yet function the way it is functioning. So that's what we built out. And then over a period of time, we've added more platforms. So we started with a one-time platform. We now have a recurring platform. We have a QR code-based platform. We're going to soon be adding an offline module. We're soon going to be adding a donor dashboard. So a lot of other things that we've been adding over the last 5 years now.
What was version 1 product? Like what was the pitch to an NGO for the version 1 product? Like just basically a donation workflow is automated.
Pitch for the first 100 NGOs was literally a payment gateway dete. Because that was the pain point back then. No one used to get a payment gateway. So Akshay, to tell you the evolution in this space, 5 years ago, people would be asking us, "Acha, tum kya dete ho, batao?" 2 years later, it became, what is a payment gateway? Today, the conversation is, what are your charges? Okay. So that is how we have seen the evolution, that today we don't have to explain what is a payment gateway. We can talk a little bit more about what we really are. But back then, it was a payment gateway. In fact, I would prefer to call myself as a donation management system, which is what we really are. But NGOs will not understand that. We also know that we are providing more than that, and what we are really providing that NGOs want is a payment gateway in different forms and sizes and variations, which is why we call ourselves a payment solutions platform today. So it's easier to make that pitch and for them to understand us. So payment gateway, something related, that's when they start listening to us.
Okay. And what are your charges?
Well, we have multiple plans and many charges. Would love to take anyone who's who wants to through a demo, and I always tell my team, first show what value we provide, then only people will understand why we charge what we charge. So very simply put, I would say we are a premium player. We actually charge what looks like more than a payment gateway, But when you consider a total cost of ownership perspective, I would very easily say it's the cheapest option given all the variety of options that we provide.
So why don't you give like a audio demo and explain how that justifies the price? Like, instead of a demo through a screen share, like right now you could do it like an audio demo and talk about.
Sure. So, Danamojo is an integrated payment solutions platform. We have close to 1,000 NGOs on our platform. We are supported by Rohini Nilikani and the Tata Trust, and won many prizes for our offering, including notably from NASSCOM for our the Digital Social Innovation Awards, and been part of many incubators and accelerators as well, including from ISB, Zone Startups, and so on. Our NGOs are spread across 30 states of India. And what we offer is much more than a simple payment gateway. In fact, we encapsulate in what we call the 5 Cs from choice. So donors can donate to specific options. You as the NGO can create multiple donation products on our platform, and donors can donate to whatever they want out there. Second is compliance, through which we ensure peace of mind for you. 100% legal compliance from a fundraising perspective, and one which is continuously evolving. So the government says you have to collect certain details for all donors. In certain cases, you have to collect some more details. For foreign donors, you have to create different details. Correct. Like you need a PAN number, but if you don't have a PAN number, you can have something else. If you donate about 50,000, you need something. If you donate about 2 lakhs, you need something else. So various things are there which are required, and all of that is something we ensure that there is full compliance along with it.
Like a donor KYC is needed basically, and you take care of that donor KYC.
Yeah, we take care of that donor KYC completely. The third thing is convenience of payments. So all kinds of payment options from one time to recurring to QR code, the typical credit card, net banking, EMI options, all of that is something we provide. Very notably, we also provide international payment options, which is something which most NGOs will really find it difficult to get from any payment gateway. In fact, even some of the largest NGOs that we have seen do not have the option of an international payment gateway.
Why is that so hard?
So I think it's just a question of not understanding it well enough. Payment gateways don't have this expertise on the charity front, on the non-profit front to understand it. NGOs are a lot of times led astray by their own advisors and auditors around what it is, because the auditors also many times are not very charity oriented. And the biggest problem is that, when we're talking about payments, finance, and all of that, this comes under RBI, Ministry of Finance. But the FCRA, under which NGOs are governed for foreign donations, comes under Ministry of Home Affairs. And so our payment systems are not geared to tackle the issues that the Home Affairs Ministry wants to tackle. So you need to build a specialized solution to manage that situation, which obviously a payment gateway is not going to build because they are not focused on this space. They are more horizontal players.
Like the Home Ministry doesn't want funding to go to terrorism, for example, through the garb of NGO funding.
Correct. And they also, so the way they classify is saying, you should, from any donor who is a foreign donor, you should, accept donation only for certain NGOs, and it should only go into a certain account. But our financial system cannot figure out who is a foreign donor. Our financial system can only figure out if a donation is in US dollars or Indian currency. It is coming from India or coming from the US. It is coming from a bank account in the UK or a bank account in India. It cannot figure out citizenship and nationality of the donor. That is not there in our financial system. But the guidelines require you to know that, then you have to check the money. So these two systems are not interlinked, they don't work together, and you need something else in a layer to make sure you're yet managing for this. Right now, so this is something which is fairly complex, and most people mistake in it. Or the bank will tell the NGO ki international FCRA के लिए international donation payment gateway not allowed. Right? The NGO will believe that. अगर bank ने बोला तो not allowed, तो not allowed. So there are a lot of misconceptions going on in this way. And also when you create a system, it has to be legally compliant in many ways. And the financial system cannot be legally compliant unless you build a layer on top of it. Right? And most payment gateways will not build that layer, which is what we are doing. We are building that layer to be compliant. So that is something we have to do, and we are able to do. So we are able to work with larger NGOs as well. It's also cost effective because a lot of things that NGOs do offline or do in a manual fashion, we are automating it. So like sending out an ACG receipt, right? Creating an e-receipt and sending it out while it might seem so basic and obvious, we've been doing airline tickets for 20 years now, but even if you go to large NGOs today, there are NGOs which will say that 35 days ke baad we will send a receipt, right? Even the largest NGO will say 3 din ke baad you will get a receipt and they'll be very happy about it. Which is really stupid in today's day and age. Donors are not expecting this. Donors want it to happen immediately. So all of this is something that we are able to provide. And the last thing is communication with the donor. So through this MailChimp-like tool, a newsletter tool, engagement campaigns. So engagement campaigns are things which we run on behalf of the NGO, where the NGO then, yeah. So the NGO gets 10% extra donations from these campaigns. Based on our own study and research, we're getting 10% more. So that's what we talk to them about, saying, when you look at our pricing and it looks expensive, factor on all these things and then see whether we are more expensive or less expensive than others.
Got it. But what is the pricing now? Let's also get that number out of you. What percentage do you charge?
We have multiple plans. We charge a subscription fee for the platform, which ranges from 3 to 9,000 rupees annually, and a transaction charge which ranges from about 3% to 10%.
Okay, depending on volume, like high volume will be lower charge.
Depending on whatever plan the NGO chooses. Depending on whatever plan they choose, depending on platform.
How do you build a payment gateway? Like when you first decided you want to do this, like is it easy to build a payment gateway? Is it like just plug and play, or is it like you have to go to each and every bank?
So yeah, we didn't want to build a payment gateway. Like I said, I think payment gateways exist. We have created a wrapper around the payment gateways meant specifically for the NGO sector. So we use existing payment gateways and we have wrapped them in a layer which is suited for the NGO sector. So we didn't have to go do all of that stuff.
Asset light approach, basically, and which also makes your go-to market much faster than I guess in a matter of like a month or two, you would have been able to go to market.
Yeah, I think we built the solution on about 3 months. It took us about 3 months to build the solution and we were able to launch it and take it forward. And then, yeah, we've continuously been improving on it.
Tell me about your customer acquisition strategy. Like, how do you acquire customers? And obviously, you probably had some initial network, right? Like from the Give India stint, your early customers must have come through that network.
Right. Yeah, so I think the good thing about the NGO space is there are lots of databases available. I would in fact say that I did not approach any of the Give India NGOs initially directly. I only approached NGOs which I knew and which I found from databases which were there around us. We were operating from Bangalore. So we actually said, let's go to the rural areas of Bangalore and find NGOs and test out our hypothesis around our onboarding process. So we said we will do a completely digital onboarding process. And we were my co-founder was a little uncertain that, will the rural NGOs have digital, scanned copies of everything? And we said, so I told him, why don't you figure it out? Why don't you find that out? Take a trip into the rural heartland and start visiting them and seeing where they have. And so that's exactly what we did.
Don't you need that NGO to already have a website? Like you are providing a widget on the website, or you're providing something that they can use even if they don't have a website? Like they don't need to integrate with the website.
We provide both. The widget is there on the website. We also provide a branded web page. So that functions like a one-page donation website for the NGO. And they can just use that to do everything as well without a website.
So that will be something like danamojo.org/ and then the name of the NGO.
Correct.
Okay, so something like what Instamojo, have you heard of Instamojo? Like they have something similar.
Yeah. So now everyone provides that. Razorpay has Razorpay pages. Instamojo has always had it.
Was the name Danamojo in any way inspired by that?
No, it was definitely not inspired by Instamojo. I think the name was really, the idea for me was that it's got to be a global name. And I said that if it has to be a global name, it has to be a fusion of two languages. One is Sanskrit, from which the languages of the Eastern world have its origins, and Latin, the language from which the Western world has its origins. So Dana, as you know, is a Sanskrit word for giving. And Mojo, Dana is, the way we do it in Sanskrit. So Dana is giving. And Mojo means magic. One of the meanings of Mojo is magic in Latin, because we believe that giving is magical. So we tell everyone experience the magic of giving, and that's how the name Danamojo came about.
So you were telling me the customer acquisition that your co-founder decided to make trips to rural Bangalore to see if.
So we visited about 20 organizations across a week in rural Bangalore, and we found everyone had digital copies of their registration certificate. That sort of onboarding to quite simple ho gaya. And initially, we were giving the platform away for free. We were not charging any subscription fee. In fact, it was never in our plan to charge it initially. That's how we only the transaction charge is what we thought we would charge, and then we also kind of released it to a select audience before we launched the campaign. So even before we launched the platform, we had 100 NGOs who had signed up with us, whose paperwork was completed. So literally the week after we launched the platform, we went live with these 100 organizations. And post that, it has largely been a journey wherein we've reached out to organizations through various means. Email has been our primary mechanism. But what we've also done is we've done workshops, fundraising workshops in various cities. We've run webinars, especially during the last 2 years of the pandemic. We've done training sessions with groups of NGOs. We've gone and met many of the large, I would probably say we met every single large and mid-sized NGO across the major cities of India. So we've done many of these things, and today most of what happens for us is word of mouth. People, NGOs get referred to us either by donors, volunteers, technology developers, chartered accountants, so other donors and volunteers who've experienced us elsewhere. So that's what drives us today.
So what made you change the pricing from pure transaction to transaction plus subscription?
So I think we realized very quickly that when we started, we got a lot of NGOs on board. In fact, I think in the first 6 months itself, we had more than 300 NGOs on board. And but none of them were raising money. Because it was free, NGOs which had 6 payment gateways took us on as the 7th payment gateway. And there was no reason for them not to use us. Right? I mean, so it became like one more thing to do. Kisi de raha hai. And a lot of them have this misconception that the more the payment gateway I have, the more the money that I will get. Because the payment gateway will generate money for me. So we said that this is obviously not working for us because we are having more and more NGOs, but we're not generating any revenue out of them. So we said we need a sustainable model to make sure that this happens. So we actually started with a one-time fee first. Because we have a one-time cost in terms of just ensuring, onboarding process completion. So we started with one-time cost. And then we soon realized that, hey, NGOs, we think can pay a subscription fee, an annual fee. And that will allow us to keep upgrading our platform, keep growing, be sustainable, most importantly, and keep offering a higher quality of service. And the beautiful thing that we observed in the next 6 months as we made this monetization journey was that we started getting better quality of NGOs. We started getting NGOs which were raising more money. It was almost as if NGOs thought that because you are asking us to pay money, you are better, you will take us more seriously, and you will give us better service. You are higher quality, and so we will now invest with you. And at the same time, all those NGOs who are taking us the 6th, 7th payment gateway started dropping out. So now our effort, our resources were very, clearly aligned in the direction of making a greater impact in terms of the ones which were raising more money, the ones which actually had a need, the ones which were well known. It got very well aligned with that, and that's how we made the shift.
So, did you register this as a for-profit or a non-profit?
It's registered as a for-profit. The idea for me was always that if you are doing an activity which can be sustainable, you must always do it in a sustainable manner. You must not, go under the garb of a non-profit, get grant, and do it in an inefficient manner. So if something can be done in a manner which is commercially viable, it should be done that way, because there are anyway many things which can't be done like that. And those are the things which really should be done in the non-profit, and they should get the non-profit grant, the non-profit money.
Okay. So your initial product would have been the automation of donation workflow. Then when did you launch the engagement product?
So we launched the engagement product, I think, about 3 years ago. About 2.5 years after, or 3 years after we started, we launched the engagement product to make sure that the newsletter tools. But the campaign piece we started in 6 months itself. 6 months after we launched, we started the campaign piece wherein these campaigns were going on. And now we've been doing that for the last 5 years campaigns go out every month on without disruption. So that's something that happens.
This campaign is is it a Danamojo campaign where multiple NGOs are featured in one mail, or does each NGO get its own campaign?
So this is actually a standardized campaign where, for example, it is saying that it's Christmas. Why don't you donate? So it's a standard campaign, but it will have the link of the NGO that you previously donated for. So if you have donated to an NGO A, when you get this campaign, it will be NGO A's link. When I get this campaign, it will be NGO B's link. So the campaign is standardized, but it goes to the appropriate link of wherever you do it. So we never mix and match this. If you have donated to NGO A, you will only get communication with respect to NGO A.
Yeah, and it's like a white labeled offering. Like there's no Danamojo logo in it anywhere.
There will be a Danamojo logo, but the idea is that it is coming from the NGO.
And essentially that NGO's database is getting targeted for that campaign.
That's right.
And if someone is present in two different databases, then you'll get two different mails, like one from each NGO.
Yeah, then you'll get one from each NGO.
These monthly campaigns that you're running for them, are they like highly templatized where you don't need much input? Or because I'm just thinking that it sounds very manual, no? If you need to like send updates.
So like I said, they are standardized campaigns. They are not a NGO specific campaign. So it runs in one effort. It's not completely automated, but it is semi-automated in the sense that it is the same template, same graphic. We are not taking any inputs from the NGOs for this. NGOs only have an option of either opting into the campaign or opting out of the campaign. They don't have the option of changing the campaign.
And they can choose which mail ID it's going from. Like it can go from their own mail ID, or it goes from a.
Currently, no. It currently goes from our mail ID only. But if a donor replies to it, it will go to them directly.
So this would mostly be like topical stuff, like you said, Christmas, New Year, and
exactly. And something which is standardized, right? Holi, Diwali. It cannot be something which is like environment or child welfare, or because it is cost specific, it will not apply to all NGOs. So it is something which is very, very commonalized across the board.
What next in your product roadmap? Like when do you plan to launch a CRM kind of a product, and what will that look like, and how will that be useful for an NGO?
So that's what is our journey now for over the next 1 year. This is exactly what we even raised funding for from Rohini Nilekani and Tata Trust, Social Alpha, wherein we are looking to build a CRM to help them do a lot more automation and to give them a lot more insights from their own data. Because eventually what you want to be able to do is to say that when should I write to a donor such that he is most likely to donate and will donate to me, right? That is a real insight that you want from any CRM. And that's what we are looking to build over the next. And so that's to give them lots of reporting, actionable, saying, hey, who donated 1 year ago but has not donated? Who donated in this month 1 year back? Who has donated? Who has not donated in the last 1 year? And then to be able to send them campaigns and templates on mails on that kind of stuff. Developing the reporting, developing the action, and developing the templates to make all of this a lot more seamless.
Will they need to actually do this stuff, like look at reports and make campaigns and run it, or will it just be like nudge based where your system will offer a recommendation that send this campaign and they just have to do single click and it's done? Like what will it be?
Yeah, so that's what the aim is. I think the eventual aim is to actually say that is not even to have nudge based and make a click. Is to say, yes, I want to send these type of campaigns and please keep doing this every month. So it should not even require my intervention.
The system will automatically figure out using some algorithmic logic that these are the people to target, this is the mails to send, and so on.
Correct. And they will just enable it. So they'll have that option of saying, do I want to do it manually, automated, or who do I want to send what template? But the easiest option of saying just do it every month will also be there.
Mm-hmm. And then stuff like how if I put a product to my cart, then Amazon will send me a mail a day later that that let's say quantity is limited, buy now or whatever, like because they know I want to buy that.
Yeah, so that's something we've already done always right from day one. I think that was always there, that the cart abandonment thing, that if you've not donated, then you can donate. So that's always been part of our strategy.
So those nudges to donors will also, like some of them are automated and then they will further get automated.
And we also we're looking at building a lot more tools which are more also both NGO and donor centric. So like I said, building a donor dashboard, right? So that the donor has access to his history. So like on Amazon, you have my transaction history, providing access to their donation history. providing a way for the donor to just download that information such that it is available in a manner ready for him to file returns with his income tax returns, right? Because that's what a donor really cares about. So having all of that in place, a lot of new regulation has come in, which will also require the NGOs to file this with the income tax department. So providing interfaces, providing flows which make all of this a lot more simple to manage from a compliance perspective is very important for us as well this year.
So this donor dashboard will be white labeled for each NGO separately, or it will be like on Danamojo, donor can log in and see all NGOs that are Danamojo customers to whom?
Both will be possible. So a donor will be able to look at it in holistic across all NGOs that he's donated from Danamojo's platform, or or only for the NGO if he goes via the NGO's platform.
And are you also planning to offer a website builder? Like, that is one element of Shopify so far that you've not done. Is that on your product roadmap?
No, I don't think we want to do that because, like I said, website is available with a lot of NGOs. Plus, a website builder is something which has no NGO specific element in it. Right? You can have a website builder for any sector, and an NGO can build on it. So we don't want to do anything which can be done for any sector. We want to only do those things which are very NGO specific. Because if they can be done for any sector, then other players and other tools will be far more efficient at doing it. If you're building for a much wider audience, then you'll obviously be better at it also. We want to only do those things which no one else will do for the NGO sector.
I don't agree here because you own that customer. Why not give him everything? Because if you tomorrow tell that customer for an additional this much fees annually, I will also give you a platform like say Wix. Wix is that self-service website builder platform through which not only can you build your website, but you can update it regularly without going through the pain of calling your developer, and you can have a chatbot in it also, and you can have all of these features, and I mean you can do that, no, because you own the relationship. So why not monetize further and give them a single one-stop offering, like a full stack offering?
Couple of things. First of all, an NGO person, like I said, is not technologically advanced, right? He cannot do any of this on his own, even if you give him a platform, which is why I said my platform is a platform where it will work automatically and you don't need any manual intervention if you don't want to do it. Only if you want advanced features do you need to intervene manually. Now, if you give him such a platform, it means I have to build on it. He's not going to be able to do it. Now, this becomes a service offering. We don't want to be in the service space because we do not believe that this is monetarily remunerative at the same level as a platform or a product space. We think that's the best approach with the NGO space. Second, instead of and this will cost a lot to build out. You cannot, you cannot build a separate version of Wix and say that it doesn't have all the features, but I will yet charge something for it. So it's not remunerative. It's not efficient. If I'm building something, I might as well sell it to everybody. Why should I restrict it to the NGO space? There is no value to that. Third, if I own the customer, I will develop a reseller model with a Wix, right? I can always develop a reseller model with Wix and sell that to the customer rather than sell it as a build it myself, right? But even that I don't want to do because that is deviating from my purpose and my core of what I am trying to do. I am not trying to be a service provider to my customer. I am trying to build a certain product, a certain value, and say that's what I will provide to my customer. And that is what I am going to get more and more customers for. So it's a different approach in that sense. Just because I sell one thing doesn't mean I can fulfill everything. That tomorrow I will build an accounting system. I'll try and replace tally values. I will never be able to be in spaces which are already occupied, right? I want to be in spaces which are not occupied. They are also more lucrative. They are also more value adding, not just to the NGO, but society in general, right? No point in building stuff which is already there. So that's where we are focused on. Obviously, if you have a value proposition in a space which is better than what current offerings are, then yes, we will certainly again position it as a product, as a platform, and do more around it.
There would be a new breed of NGOs which have more tech-savvy founders who are actually able to make use of a self-service website building tool.
Absolutely. I think all the new kids are definitely in the arena that you see, but they will also use a Wix as well. Why would they choose to use a new platform, something which is recently developed, something which is not going to be at that level at which a Wix or a WordPress can be today? So I don't see any value add that we are able to provide that is better than that beyond owning the customer. And in all honesty, you start from a website. You don't start from a payment gateway. So the guys who really own the customer then is Wix and WordPress, not us.
There is a platform play to be chased because you have data. You have data of, let's say, lakhs of donors in India. There could be a play in terms of like cross promotion, because if you know that these people are interested in one cause, then you could present to them a curated set of NGOs around that cause. You have this preferences, like you have this demographic, psychographic data of donors that has value in it, no?
So we don't consider that we have data of the donor, because this donor has been brought by the NGO itself. So it is the NGO's donor, it is not our donor. The day we use the donor for any other purpose, we have lost the NGO as a customer. We have lost the trust of the NGO. So for us, the NGO is our customer. And all the donors who are coming are really customers of that NGO. So for us, there is absolutely no double thought around the fact that this is not our data to use or mine or to do in any way, apart from helping the NGO itself.
But it sets up a flywheel effect of the fact that, like you said, that for a lot of NGOs, they think payment gateway banana means or donation ana. And then you actually become that payment gateway, because then the moment you're able to give curated recommendations, then more people want to sign up on the platform because they know that I will get additional donations.
Right, but let's take this argument, right? I will argue that it's not a flywheel, it's a spiral to destruction. So what kind of NGOs will sign up for the platform? The ones who have donors or the ones who don't have donors? The ones who don't have donors will sign up. As soon as I start doing it, what kind of NGOs will sign off the platform? So I basically land up in a space wherein all the NGOs who gave me donors have left, all the NGOs who don't have donors are there. And this is basically exactly what happened in the beginning, which is why we changed the model. So it's very counterintuitive, but that's exactly what's very important to understand. That you have to gain the trust of your customers. And what is most important to any one of them is their donor privacy, their donor data being secure. In fact, we ourselves very proactively in our agreement have put in an NDA clause saying the donor data is not our data. The donor data is your data. We will do nothing with this data. In fact, we have not even gotten into the fundraising model to show that our business model is not around, doing fundraising. Our business model is around helping NGOs do fundraising, right? So we will never do it directly, but we will help you with the tools, the systems, the processes that are required so that you can do it. And I think that has helped us tremendously because we are one of the very few platforms, I would say, or one of the only platforms which has also had very large NGOs use our services and share their donor data with us as part of our platform. So we work with all the large NGOs from, World Vision to Akshay Patra to Cry.
This was The Spotlight, presented by The Podium. To listen to more such interesting conversations, log on to thepodium.in.